Pledge of Allegiance, moment of silence, public service announcements. We're going to have a joint meeting with the Zoning Board of Appeals and then go into a presentation from representatives from Dish Network. Then we have department reports from the Building Department and the Fire Department, the Town Administrator update, and then we have action items consisting of authorization for the chair to execute the agreement with Sherman Frederick, land surveying and engineering in the amount of $19,800 plus an allowance of $350 for reimbursable expenses. Consideration and possible action authorize the chair to execute a contract with R. Caffey Construction Incorporated for the Fisk Hill Trails parking lot in the amount of $31,150. Consideration and possible action to authorize the chair to execute the contract with New Generation Landscaping and Fence Incorporated for the Turner Field fence replacement in the amount of $33,550 pending signed contract. Consideration and possible action authorize the chair to execute the contract with Celtic Painting and LLC for the Sturbridge Wastewater Treatment Facility, clarifier, repair, and painting in the amount of $254,700. Consideration and possible action to accept the letter of resignation from Jane Downing from the Open Space Committee effective November 6, 2023. Consideration and possible action to accept the letter of resignation from Trevor Bresci from the Sturbridge Police Department as a full-time dispatcher effective September 16, 2023. Consideration and possible action of the board to sign the 2024 annual renewal licenses for listed businesses. Consideration and possible action to accept the donations from Don Taff of the Quabog Aquaquasmet Lake Association in the amount of $6 $20 gift cards to Big Y, 2 $25 Visa gift cards, 2 $20 Stop and Shop gift cards, 2 turkey breasts, and 6 turkeys. Consideration and possible action on the appointment of Kyle St. Marie to the position of Department of Public Works Senior Heavy Equipment Operator effective November 21st. Consideration and possible action on opening the warrant for the January 2024 special town meeting. Consideration and possible action on closing the warrant for that same meeting. Old business, new business, correspondence, approval of minutes, citizens forum, executive session, and then adjourn. So with that, would everybody please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And just again, a moment of silence tonight just for the conflict in the Middle East. And with that, we go to public service announcements. Mary Lou, anything?
I want to wish everybody a very happy Thanksgiving, and for those of you that are traveling, please be safe out there.
Just echo what Mary Lou said, and I have no further. Thank you.
Happy, healthy Thanksgivings. God's blessings.
Okay, likewise. Also, a reminder that the winter parking ban is in effect from November 15th to April 1st. So if people aren't sure what the regulations are, when a storm comes, when it starts, no parking on public ways until the roads are clear.
Okay. And again, a safe Thanksgiving. You can drink if you want to. You can drive if you want to, but don't drink and drive. It's easy enough. All right. So with that, we are moving to a joint meeting with the Zoning Board of Appeals. So I think they have to come up here and open their own meeting.
Good evening.
How you going?
Good evening. We open our meeting, the Zoning Board of Appeals open our meeting with the Board of Selectmen for the joint meeting to appoint Mary Ann Thorpe to our board.
Sounds good. All right, Mary Ann, how you doing? All right. You want to begin with this one?
So Mary Ann had emailed and expressed an interest to rejoin us. And when I floated it out there, there was an overwhelming yes, please push this forward and move this through. And with that kind of support and the background that you had and have and your reputation, it was one of those no-brainers, and we love when that happens. So tonight, as per charter and bylaw, we have to have a joint meeting to do that, and I highly recommend that Mary Ann be reappointed, or appointed back to her position, I should say.
Okay. Any questions from the board? Comments?
I just have a question.
Sure.
Mary Ann, are you intending to run in the April? I am. It's always nice to know. No, I wholeheartedly agreed. I mean, she did a great job when she was on the ZBA before.
Anything else from the board? Do you guys have anything else? All right, well, I think we need a motion, so who wants to make the motion?
I'll make a motion
Okay.
to appoint Mary Ann Thorpe to the remaining term on the ZBA.
I'll second. Oh, go ahead.
Nope, great, that's
I
usually,
don't normally second, but I do.
yeah.
I guess I will on this one. I'll second that.
Okay, I have a motion, a second. All those in favor? You guys can.
Yeah, you vote.
Yeah.
Join.
All right, it's unanimous.
Otherwise, it would,
It'll be a split.
All right, I think that's all we need from you. You
that's-
guys probably need a motion to adjourn.
I need a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second? Second. All in favor?
Great, thanks,
Thank
guys.
you all for coming out tonight.
Appreciate it.
Thank
and a
you.
nice
Thanks, Mary Ann.
Yeah,
Thanksgiving.
be safe. All right. All right, so we are going back to what was item E, which is a presentation from representatives of Dish Network regarding the proposed antenna on Fisk Hill Water Tower.
So, as we had mentioned in the past, as they're coming up, I'll just fill the board in and the public in a little bit. This had come up in regards to a couple of different tower projects. This one was a new situation to the town, an antenna on the water tower on Fisk Hill. The board had indicated that despite the fact that this does go through a full planning process, that the board wanted to hear a presentation on this, as well as the public has expressed different types of concerns and whatnot. We had a preliminary meeting, virtual meeting with Dish several weeks back, and indicated that the board wanted this. They were more than willing to meet and to be ready to provide information on a host of things, whether it's the visual appearance of this, the 5G question, any of those things that we anticipated people may have questions on, or questions that we have heard along the way on these things. So Jean is here as well. Jean sat in on the meeting, and obviously it is of interest to Jean and the planning board, as the whole design of it, as it would move forward, would be in front of the planning board anyway. So with that, I'll let the experts on this take over.
Thank you very much. My name is Chuck Regalbuto. To my right is Philip Sipe. To my left is Denise Sabo and Victoria Massey. We all work for Northeast Site Solutions, which is a consultant to Dish Wireless. We're here tonight to explain what the proposal is in front of the town. And if I could ask Michelle if she can go to the file that shows, it says file name A1, A2.
Different file, I think, there was.
Yep, it's a different file. It's a different file.
Oh, you're combined, okay.
They're all combined? Oh, okay.
I apologize, we should have combined it and put it in an order for you.
And I apologize, because when you all came Friday, we were closed, so.
Okay, so the fourth one down.
Well, I can tell you, we're all furious, and that's why.
I know, you look angry about this. Just, there we go.
All right, so the location of the water tank on Fisk Hill is at 65 Whitmore Road. Everybody knows that. And that's the depiction of the property map with the water tank on it. If you go down to the next page, you'll see a little bit more detail on the left-hand side of the screen, or on the left-hand side of your papers if you're looking at a hard copy. The proposed facility is Dish is proposing putting three 6-foot antennas on top of the water tank, enclosed by what they call an RF screen, which is basically, if you really look at it, it's kind of a fiberglass screen. So it's a stealthing on top of the tank. There's 6 remote radio heads, which are size of a small toaster, up there as well as hidden behind the screening. The cable that connects the antennas down to the radio equipment will go down the north side of the tank in an enclosed cable tray that's painted to match. The stealth enclosure on top of the tank is also painted to match the tank. From the bottom of the tank over to the far northern corner of the property is a 35 square foot ground equipment location. Between the two, it's connected via underground conduit. 35 square foot and compound 7x5 contains the radio and a couple other assorted items that needs to run the site. The underground utilities, electric and fiber, will run along the northeastern side of the property down to the eastern side of the property, underground, under the driveway to the existing telephone pole right off of Whitmore Road. Okay, so does anyone have any questions on the proposed facility and design? Okay.
You'd either zoom in on that or when we go
You
to
can
the
go
next
to,
page.
you can go to A2 now.
There you are.
So that kind of shows what we're talking about without all the other items that are on the property. I want to get this straight here. The top of the water tank is 86 feet 7 inches. It's the top of the handrail that's up there. It's shown in between, if you look at the left-hand side and the right-hand side of the drawing, those are the two antennas. In the middle is a handrail for the access to the water tank. That's 86 feet 7 inches. To the top of the screening is 93 feet. So it's a little bit more than 6.5 feet, right around 6.5 feet. That's we're proposing to extend the height of the tank. Okay. The antennas are on tripods, metal tripods that are cold welded to the top of the tank, and as well as the screening. Okay, so it's all steel reinforced. And the analysis that was done on that is with 134 mile an hour winds, which is standard for this area. I don't have the exact radial ice measurement on that, but I think it's 3/4 or up to an inch, somewhere around there. But we can get those exact figures for you. So the line on the right side going down the tank, that's the enclosed cable tray. So as you can see, it doesn't interfere with the ladder. And again, it's enclosed and it's painted to match. Okay. You've also asked us to do a visual analysis or a photo simulation of the tank. So if you go to, Philip, help me out here.
Sims, it's the
Sims.
next one down from where
Next
you are.
one down, thank you. Okay, so this was, we had this prepared by a firm that we use often. If you go down to the next, so that's the aerial of where they've taken the photographs. Now, you can see the yellow 1 and 2 and the green 3 and 4. So if we go down the page, we'll let you know what that means. So go down to the next page, Michelle. Okay, so that's the existing tank right now from location 1. So if you go back to the map, you'll see location 1 is just right down the street from the water tank. Okay, so then go back up to page 3, now go to page 4, and if you want to toggle in between page 3 and 4, you can see the difference. That's without, that's with. So what this is known as, this is partial visibility partial year. So you have, this is actually good because it's leaf off aspect. So people who see the tank at this point in time from that location, roughly around that location, will be seeing just that little bit of screening at the top of the tank. So they already have some type of visual impact on that from the tank. Now, if you go down to page 5, it shows the same. Now go down to page 6, if you want to toggle in between the two of them. Okay, so again, that's a partial. They're calling the visibility obscured because of the trees that are in the area. Now, again, that is half the year, because when the leaf off is roughly 6 months, and the rest of the year, you'll only be seeing the bottom of the tank, really. So if you keep on going to the next page, this is the green number 3 picture from the map. So if you go all the way back to the beginning, you'll see what we're talking about now. Keep going. Keep going. Right there. So 3 is just above the water tank. Okay. So they have visibility of the water tank, probably a little bit more than 6 months out of the year because the trees aren't as mature in that area, and then you'll see the screening that's around it. You do see a little break in the screening from this position. That is because of the access to the tank. We tried to put a door there so it would be 360 degrees stealthed, but in order to do that, we'd have to put some type of railing or a balcony or something like that on the tank, which would stick out even more, and we want kind of trying to limit that aspect of it. So you do have that little opening right there, and that's on the back side of the tank. And if you go to page 9, again, that's most likely year-round visibility with the top 25% of the tank being shown, and then that's just, you can see if you toggle between the two again. Okay, so existing and then simulation. Now, we've had our simulations tested in the years that we've been doing this, and I've been doing this for 27 years, and we actually got to, it was 98% accurate. So I had them check and recheck the scaling of the screening, just to make sure. Okay, so any questions on the photo simulations? I mean, it's fairly straightforward. Okay. Now, if you go to the next file that says VShed right underneath it, okay, this is what we refer to in the industry as viewshed analysis. So this is where the computer generates a map of where it thinks you get visibility from. So the yellow is, at the scale on the right, is the top 10, 20% of the tank. Okay? And as you get closer to the tank, your line of sight is greater, so you don't get to see it as much, but as you get further away, you'll see it. There's no red in the area, or the orange, if you will, all the way down to the bottom. That would be visibility of the entire tank. So the further away you get, the more you might see a portion of the tank. The tank is actually pretty well hidden up in that area. It's I don't have the tree height over there, but I think it's about 70 feet. Hey, if you want to go through the slides, just, okay. So that's the year-round visibility. Okay, if you want to keep on going down. So it's really basically right around there. So basically, people who see the tank now will see the tank later. And again, that's a mile radius. As further out, you get a better view of it. And you can, we'll just get out of that one, and we'll go to, it's the one with the sites. Yep, that one. I know that Robin had asked us to let the board know what Dish is planning and has already established. So the only site that's actually in town that they're on or going to be on is the one at the rest stop, the truck stop, down between 84 east and westbound. The site off to the left, that's in Brimfield. The site off to the right is in Southbridge. And then there's the one on Charlton Road. That's really the northern part of Sturbridge. And the green dot in the middle is the State Police Tower. And the blue dot, or the blue push pin, is the Fisco water tank. So you can see how the coverage kind of lays out. One more file for everybody to look at is the plots. So right underneath that, what you just did is, right, yep, thank you. So this is the anticipated coverage of the site, just this site alone. Now, if you go to the next page, so the green is really good, yellow is okay, it's digital, so it's 5G, so you still get service, you won't get the old analog crackling. And then obviously the white is just, there's no service there. So this is coverage without the site currently. And if you go down one more, this is the coverage with the site at 86, what they say, when it says 86 feet, that's the center line of the antennas. And since the antennas are 6 feet tall, as a matter of fact, Dish typically uses an 8-foot antenna, but in this instance, we've asked them to drop down to the 6-foot, and it's a special case that has to be approved by their national RF team. So they dropped it down to 6 feet so we can keep a minimum height increase over the top of the tank. Okay. So if you're looking at that, you'll see that there's some areas of Sturbridge that don't necessarily have great coverage, especially along the 84 corridor or going out toward Fiskdale, where actually these two live. That potentially could be filled in by better technology with the antennas. It could be filled in by small cells or DAS that everyone's working at, or if there's another site that pops up.
Michelle,
That's just the planned one right now at this time.
Michelle, can you just go back and show us the coverage one more time?
Yep, so that's without the proposed site. That's the current coverage right now.
Then toggle back.
And then toggle back, please, Michelle. So, no.
So you can see it fills in quite well around the major corridors.
And so the orange is the...
Orange is like a lower level coverage. But again, now we're in the digital age and you don't hear that crackling. Like years ago when you first had your cell phone, that was analog coverage.
Sure.
And you'd be talking and all of a sudden it just gets really scratchy and kind of like an old album that you were playing on a bad turntable.
So what, so right now you said that there's a site going in on 84, there's one in Brimfield, and I think one in Southbridge and maybe Charlton, is that correct?
Yes, if you want to go back to that, yeah, that one. So
And
way
those
down
are
the bottom.
all present or not present? So just...
That's on air. The one in the bottom is on air and the one in Southbridge is on air.
Okay, so how does that map you just showed us between the orange and the green change when other devices go online?
Oh, all those sites that you saw, the Southbridge, the Charlton Road, the Brimfield, they're all on air at this time.
Okay, gotcha. That's what I was confused about,
Yeah,
because so all of those are on air presently? Okay.
Correct. Yep,
This would be filling the gap.
Gotcha.
basically. Yep, and it's a major gap between the Mass Pike and 20 and 84. I mean, it's 131.
How many other service providers are in the area that overlap all of this?
Well, typically you usually have AT&T, Verizon, and T-Mobile.
Gotcha.
Those are your three, but due to the merger between Sprint and T-Mobile,
Okay.
Dish was awarded this license.
It was mandated to keep it a competitive industry.
So it's an antitrust action. So they, you okay?
Jumped.
I think it was Chase. I mean, it looked like it was Chase to me. Sorry, just apologize, Chase, come on. So what you're, so basically, there was as part of the merger, the Department of Justice insisted on it?
It was
Exactly.
mandated by the DOJ
Yep.
yeah, for competitive industry,
So-
not to have 3 carriers, to keep it 4.
So presently will be, so they don't get it, or so they're not going to be in this area as a consequence of it, so we'll only have 3 providers?
Well, they have
Yeah.
existing, they wouldn't have, that coverage wouldn't be there without them.
That coverage would not be
So
there
what,
without them?
what they have to do is, obviously, they have to have seamless coverage,
Sure.
just like the other carriers do.
Yeah.
And without this site, there would be no seamless coverage. They would have a big gap right in the middle of town.
In the middle of all the other towns.
No, yeah,
that
so
they're trying to
Dish
connect.
needs a site in Sturbridge because of the way the FCC and the agreement with the merger between Sprint and T-Mobile.
Yes, they're mandated to have, well, actually, right now, they're mandated to have 70% of the population covered by the end of this year. Now, then they have to have 75% covered by the end of next year, and then it keeps on going up from there. Okay, so obviously, if they hit the high population areas, to keep your customers, you have to maintain complete coverage. You can't have gaps in your coverage where you're talking to your kids and they have an issue, and all of a sudden you drop your call.
Okay.
And that's, if you go back to the coverage maps, that's what the white would show. If you go up, right there. So that's the coverage without this site, and you can see there's some major roads there that won't get covered. And major population.
So, just maybe I'm misunderstanding, just so I have it straight in my head. So we have a coverage gap presently as it comes to Dish's service. They need this coverage addressed because the antitrust actions. Is that fair?
I'm not going to say it's because of that. I'm going to say because of seamless coverage.
Okay.
Right.
So seamless coverage, meaning the federal government wants 70% of the country covered by...
No, seamless coverage is going from site to site. So going from the western part of Sturbridge to the eastern part of Sturbridge, right now you can see in the white area, you don't have coverage.
Okay, so this is, okay, so I'm just making it too complicated.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
sounds right.
Yeah, the DOJ said, you can do this, right? The
Yeah.
DOJ said, you can do this because of these guys merged together.
And they want you to do it,
Right.
but it's not
Right.
an enforcement action.
Yeah. So it's not that I have to cover 70% or they have to cover 70% of Sturbridge.
Sure.
They have to cover 70% of the, yeah, and they go for the highest population areas.
Can I ask a question?
Of course, yeah.
Did you look at other proposed sites in Sturbridge as well and in the area?
Yes.
If so, where, and why did you settle on this one?
We looked at for the longest time, we looked at the State Police Tower. And it turns out that the Massachusetts State Police are doing a huge overhaul of their system right now. And they're unsure if they can put another carrier on that tower. There's 2 carriers on there already. I believe there's 2.
Yes.
There's two carriers on there already.
Now, I guess this isn't my
Okay.
area.
Good.
So why couldn't they have more than 2 carriers? Like, what is the impediment?
It's A, space,
Okay,
B, structural capacity. Now, we can increase the structural capacity of the tower if the state police will allow us, but right now they're saying no more carriers. That's their last correspondence that we had with the state police.
they don't want to increase their structural capacity.
They don't want to increase the tenant on their tower because they need the space for themselves.
So if they wanted to upgrade their equipment and
They wanna
it's
upgrade
already
their equipment.
structurally stressed, then they
Yeah.
wouldn't be able to if there was an additional carrier.
And where else did you look besides the state
We
police?
looked at the Congregational Church next to the town hall. And that, they were willing to do something, and we were going to do something on the inside of the steeple, but it's only about 40 feet,
45 feet.
45 feet. So the coverage was not nearly what RF, radio frequency engineers, required to fill in that gap.
So with this antenna being at 86-foot rad center, 92-foot antenna, top of the antenna, excuse me, it gives us the coverage that you saw. So if it was at 45 feet and at a lower height, then we wouldn't have the same coverage.
Yeah. And there's no other existing structures really that are tall enough to really to look at. And we were not looking at building a new tower, point
That would
blank.
be the next option.
That would be the next option. We're not looking at that.
Because of cost restraints?
It's difficult to try to put a tower in, especially when there's multiple structures out there.
And the water tank and adding a stealth screen wall to conceal the antenna is a lot less of a visual impact.
Exactly.
Than a new build?
And looking at looking at like a cell tower with the antennas hanging off of it versus it being concealed, being a 6-foot extension to the water tank. So, you know, the water tank from the ground is going to look like it's just seamlessly going up and just a little higher than what it was versus
A new tower
a new
that's
tower.
100 feet, 80 to 100 feet sitting somewhere.
Right.
So, you know, and we have to be away from the historic district, and if we move anywhere toward the east, we're going to get visual impact from Old Sturbridge Village on a tower site. So that option wasn't even on the table.
Usually when we work with the carrier who we represent, it's to try to make it the least visual impact for the town.
And the other thing, it's on a town water tank. So all the rent goes to the town.
Right.
And not to some other property owner.
And that's something we'll negotiate a price on, if everything moves forward.
Correct.
Do we have any other questions?
No, I don't.
I just had a couple.
Sure, go ahead.
Can you explain on page, I don't know, it's under the summary. I guess the federal government has maximum exposure to the radiation from the, what do you call it, the radio frequency?
Yep.
And
Electromagnetic radiation.
and you say we're well below the exposure that is allowed.
That was actually the first slide.
Right, yes. But I don't understand, like, explain what this 4.94% means.
The government's.
And then also-
Yeah, the government sets a limit
Right,
and says it's really for multiple carriers on one tower, one site, one water tank, whatever it might be. And it's really, it's a calculated percentage that they take in the amount of power that comes out of the antennas, and what's that percentage of the power at the street level. It's not at the antenna height, because the antennas radiate out in a parabolic fashion, the horizontal and the vertical planes. So they take it from the street level where most people are in cars, walking, and living, basically, right? So we have an engineer that actually puts that together for DISH, for all their sites.
Required by federal law.
no, I get that, but could you just explain, on the summary sheet, it says, the anticipated composite emissions value for the site, assuming all carriers present, is 4.94% of the allowable FCC established general population. So why is it like the anticipated composite emissions? How come you won't know now what the emissions will be? Why isn't it anticipated?
Basically, that's their best guess estimate, because they can't do an actual test until the site is on air. And again, those are fairly accurate, but if it's required by the town, we can do a before and after test. So we can do a test before. There's nothing there, so we know the test is going to be 0. We can do an after test to give you an idea of exactly what that number is.
And does that change with the age of the antenna? In other words, does the exposure increase as the antenna gets older and less efficient and less whatever? Does the emissions?
Yeah, I hear what you're
increase?
saying. No, this is actually at maximum capacity.
Okay.
okay?
It's not what they'll be operating at.
Right, so most cell sites in the area are not operating at maximum capacity. The only time they really operate at maximum capacity, and you might get a dinging on your phone, and all of a sudden your signal cuts out, if you're in the middle of traffic. You're on the Mass Pike, and it's Mass Pike traffic time, and 84 is all clogged up, and so the cell towers are working overtime, basically, trying to get as much signals in and out, because there's a finite number of cells that can accept and send out signals, and on antennas and on sites. They get too busy, they can't handle all the calls, and then you get, right? So that's happened to everyone at least once before. So that would be at maximum capacity. So that's why these are tested or calculated at maximum capacity. But do they always run at 100%? No. And I'm not going to tell you exactly what they run up, but they run at less.
So if there's a, excuse me, if I can jump in, so if there's a jam on the Mass Pike right here, because you use a great example of, we might be at maximum capacity here at different points, given our location.
Yeah, exactly.
So you're saying what you're anticipating is approximately very close to 4.94 out of the 100%.
Right.
At
So
worst case scenario.
So it's with one carrier up there with 3 antennas, it's less than 5% of the maximum capacity
Right.
of what
Allowable limit.
allowable max that the government sets as a guideline.
But I would assume we would be at that quite a bit, given the amount of,
Again,
given
you're-
the amount of traffic
that's-
that the Mass Pike
Right.
always
That
has now.
5% is the
Assuming
max.
it. I get it.
Is the max, so it's usually running less than that.
Yep.
Right, and even if you we have sites in, because we do a lot of work at the Connecticut Siting Council, and we have sites that have, some of the carriers have 15 antennas, and there's 4 of them up there, and they're at maybe 75% of maximum allowable limits set by the government. So 5% to something like that.
Some carriers have 3 and 4, for each carrier, with all carriers being on a location, so the capacity,
It's relatively low.
And for people who might, and I think Heather's here, correct me if I'm wrong, if people are concerned, let's say, okay, so Dish is gonna go on this, and we can have another one go on it, and another one go on it, and then be at 15%, we'd be restricted on how much we could allow up there by the footprint of that parcel, because,
How much,
right, I don't think we could add, I'm not sure we could add another carrier there with their equipment.
We'd have to determine it, and before we can even accept them, we're gonna have them do a structural analysis showing us.
Which we have.
We have
We
done,
have done the
yes.
structural
Yeah,
analysis
they-
on
Have
that
it
basis.
independently reviewed.
Right,
Yes.
so,
I think it added 0.2% to the structural capacity. of the
where
tank.
else do you have your antenna in that we might go and look at?
Well, they're on towers, so,
Understand that, but I mean,
Yeah.
what are, like, your references, like, where else have you done work in Massachusetts where?
with the shield, do you have any others?
well, right now, we're
Of the
doing,
samples we showed you.
Yeah.
right now, we just responded to an RFP with Chelmsford Water District,
Okay,
and we're putting the antennas on their tank, and they've got 2 other carriers on that tank. We're actually replacing the Sprint antennas. They came down because of the merger with Sprint and T-Mobile. Sprint and T-Mobile were up there. So Sprint antennas came down, and we're putting our antennas, Dish is putting their antennas right back in the same spot. So they have multiple carriers on that water tank.
do you have any that have already done, though, like a done deal?
Norton,
With the shield, where people could see
shield,
the.
That will look similar.
I don't have anything in Massachusetts. We have it in Connecticut, and I believe we sent some
You
pictures.
showed some pictures that, but they were different shape towers. They
different
didn't look
shapes.
like our tower. They weren't as already tall, I don't think.
Nothing, but Dish has put antennas up on the Norton water tank just recently.
In
Or
Norton.
without a shield.
No, they don't have a shield.
Yeah.
Right, the stealth wall isn't there?
No,
The paint
that's-
to match, it's usually paint to match on the tank, if it's
They're
not
always
required.
painted to match.
Because I'll be honest, I have to take all this in, but it's right in the very residential area, and where the state police is, it's more of a commercial area, they already have them there.
Yeah.
It seems like the impact would be less than going
Agreed,
right in the middle of
agreed. We can't,
kind of a big neighborhood. I've gotten concerns from people that live on Old Farm, and I just wondered why it was this particular location that is the one that you've keyed in on.
yeah, well, we keyed it on the tower first.
Right.
We worked
And
with
they
them
said
for
no.
over 2 years, going on 2.5 years.
Yeah, it's been,
2.5 years we've been working with them, and we just really started with this in May of this year. So we did a lot of due diligence on the tower. At first, they didn't even want to speak to us, which happens. But we've got a good relationship with the Connecticut State Police. Thought that might help over across the line, but it really didn't do much over there.
It doesn't work that
Rivalry.
Right. They actually didn't even say that they owned the tower. They gave us the runaround.
So,
They said the town owned it.
so Mary, to answer you.
They said we owned it?
It would be just also gap coverage, and there's already an 87-foot tank there, so it would be just, visually, it would be as though we were just expanding the tank to 92 feet. So you're going from 86.7, so we'll call it 87 feet, to 92.
I know, I saw the pictures, I'm just saying,
yeah.
when I drive, you don't typically see them in the type of area that, at least I haven't seen them. You see them in more remote areas,
Yeah.
less neighborhoods, less people living there.
That's actually.
Maybe it's changing, but
It's changed
I
a
don't-
lot. We have them like Denise said, we have them in churches, we have them on hospitals, we have them on water tanks all over the place.
Well, that's why I was asking,
Yeah.
but all over the place, other than Norton, where else are they, the way we could
Well,
look?
I'm talking more in I know more in Connecticut than I do
So
over
in
here.
Massachusetts, you have one in Norton,
Norton and Chelmsford is
and
coming up.
Chelmsford is your under construction.
Yeah,
Well, no, that makes it sound like it's the whole state. We don't have, there's not one in the whole state of
Right,
Mass.
yeah.
There's just one that we could think of off of our head. We'd have to do research and send you photos.
we're not-
For
we're-
other carriers, they might not be for Dish, but it would be something similar if that's what you just wanted to see what it looked like, a stealth design, is that?
Well, I mean, yeah, I guess that, seeing a slideshow is one thing, but seeing the actual thing is kind of different.
sure. Yeah, we can find something for you. We don't do all of Dish's sites. There's multiple groups like ours that do Dish, so we're not privy to their sites that they're working on. We can ask
other
Dish
carriers.
or other carriers. We can try to find out where they are.
There's a lot, like, you would see, you may not even notice it on a rooftop, instead of the stealth wall to expand the tank. There's also, you would see what would look like a chimney, an additional chimney on a rooftop, the extension of a wall to make the building look taller, a penthouse design on a rooftop. So there's lots of different stealth designs that they do to kind of make it blend into the area and hospitals.
Flagpoles, have I seen them on giant
Flagpoles.
flagpoles?
Oh, yeah.
Going through Charlton.
When you see like a really huge flagpole.
One on the pike, yeah, somewhere up along the pike
Yeah.
toward Boston, there's a huge one on the
There's one
flagpole.
across from CVS going down through Charlton, there's a huge one there. I don't know what
No,
carrier's
like I
on
said, I've
that
seen
one,
them on the
but yeah.
pike, I know the one you're referring to. I just haven't seen them in as many neighborhoods, so I guess that would be my
Yeah,
reluctance.
they're there. They're there. Luckily, you don't see them as well.
Water tower been there?
That's a hidden.
They're also, when they're in a residential area, you usually do want to conceal them.
33?
So they're,
So that's been in a residential area for 33 years.
Yeah, well, I mean, a water tower, well, I'm not going to get into it. Well, a water tower doesn't have like maximum emission requirement standards on radiation.
at only
and that
4%, 4.94%.
No, I totally get it, but a water tower is,
Yeah, I
to
mean,
me, is different.
it seems to be, and I don't know if anybody else has any questions, and this is more informational. I think this is very helpful. My concerns are just making sure there aren't negative health impacts that come with it. I'm not sufficiently facile in these formulas to have that opinion. There's a shocker, right? It seems to make sense what you're saying. Effectively, you're putting a windscreen up that'd be painted, that would be maintained, and would mitigate. It would just make the water tower look a bit bigger. Is that a fair statement?
Exactly.
Okay. Does anybody else have anything for now? No one's.
That was helpful,
Just
though.
information.
Yeah. No,
Very
appreciate
thorough.
it.
Thank you.
Very thorough.
Thank you all for your
coming in.
time.
Thank you all, and just
Thank
for
you.
process purposes, so you all are aware, the normal step that they would then be going through would be planning, which I think is in December sometime?
No, we missed that.
January.
Oh, okay, January.
January at the earliest, actually, we're already booking through the end of January and February, and the property owner has signed the application.
So there's plenty of time for, as far as digesting this, any questions you come up with, certainly. we can forward
Plenty
to
of time
Dish.
to take a ride to Norton.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
We'll find you locations.
We'll
And they'll-
find you
they'll
something
make- if there are
else, too.
photos, just mail them to me and I can send
So
them
if you have a
collectively
question,
to
just
the
come up to the
board.
mic.
Oh, yes.
Identify yourself, please.
Sure. Yep, Peter Mimo, 76 South Shore Drive, Sturbridge.
Hi, Peter. So just for the crew, this is technically not a public hearing. The chair is just recognizing Peter because he's,
I'm going to address it to the selectmen.
okay, that's great.
So I have it's a novel question, but I think it's an important question that you should consider about these metal tanks, 80 feet tall, 90 years old. They have a very smooth, round top to them, right? They've been there a long time. There's a couple of them in town. I don't know if they have other ones on these tall, round top tanks, not flat top tanks. My my comment to the board is to consider noise pollution, not the audio kind. When you take something smooth like that, so tall, that the wind goes over it all the time, and you start putting metal structures and screens on top, the different 135-mile-an-hour testing, we don't typically get that kind of wind, but we get 70 miles, 40 miles. The different seasons, all 4 seasons, leafless seasons, you get wind directions coming through these metal structures and screens on top of a smooth tank. You may get audible sounds, whistling sounds, things like that. So I put this to the town. Would you, as landlords, want to consider having some kind of instrumentation to measure any kind of audible sounds off of the apparatus on top? Because you're the landlord.
Like some noise mitigation, is that what you're saying?
To monitor the sounds.
monitor first.
There could be whistling sounds coming off the apparatus. And I would like you to consider, as the landlord, would you want to have instrumentation that would keep the residents happy that there's no whistling sounds coming off of this tank?
That makes sense. Thank you, Peter.
So,
Yes, just because I recognize Peter, one more, come on. Just come up to the mic, just identify yourself.
Ellen Duzak, 1 Old Farm Road. The picture that you showed, the brown house, and this is just a comment, we look straight out, my second floor looks straight out on the top of the tower, because the tower is on the going down Whittemore. So where we are at the top, we look straight out. So that 4.9, I would like some verification. What happens when I look straight out and the emissions come straight out to my second floor? In other words, I'm looking at almost the top of the tower. That is literally looking out my window. That is, we both looked at each other, my husband and I, and said, oh my God, that's in your house? Did you go in her house? And by the way, we're the part, all of Old Farm Road doesn't get any screening. We look at the open part of that. But the biggest problem to me is you're giving 4.9 at ground level. We're not at ground level. That's literally my viewpoint. I'm that far up, so we're not at ground level. Most of Old Farm Road, and I'm that close. Somebody was hanging out my bathroom window to take that picture. It was sort of a shock to see. So I think that 4.9 is a number, but it's not a number for those of us living right there.
Okay.
Thank you.
No, thank you. All right.
If you
is
could,
the number
yeah.
higher, the higher, I guess, I really don't understand. So at ground level, it's 4.9. The higher you go, does the emission go
We
up?
can have it, we can have it calculated where.
But is that typical, like, the higher you are, you're closer, like, how does that work?
Yeah, but you're also
Where the signal is emitted, the signal is stronger, meaning there's more.
Okay, that's
Depending on how far out you are.
If you take a look at a flashlight, so it's really, really bright here,
Yep.
but as it gets further out,
Okay.
it gets less, so it gets weaker.
So 4.9 is at ground level where you're
Ground level,
walking.
but then that's at the base of the
Right, you'd have to
tank.
calculate how far away.
So now you're further away, but we could still do.
But if you could get it, yeah, if you want to,
Is the signal a radial emission?
No, it's not. Those would be referred to as like a whip antenna, like they have for towns and the police. These are panel antennas, so they're that's why there's 3 of them, one for each 120-degree sector. So,
There's 3, one sitting on each side. They also,
so they don't come out of, they're not like a fluorescent bulb where the signal goes all the way out through the 360 degrees, since they're directional antennas. So I don't know exactly what the pathway is, but it's 90 degrees, 100 degrees, something like that, coming out of the front of the antenna.
and they're designed to shoot out and over everything, not down at the ground.
Ma'am, if you want to at some point email me, and we'll have your contact information, and then once they do a little more analysis, we can get you a number.
Okay, with that, thank you guys for coming in tonight. We really appreciate it.
Thank you all for your
and,
time.
More to come.
Have a wonderful holiday.
If there's any more questions that pop up, please send them.
Forward, right,
I'll
yep,
send those.
I'll
We'll
get
get you
everything
some
to you. that we have.
photos
We
and
also want to have a
try to,
discussion on the license versus
I
release.
said with the hearing things, because I thought
Talk
I
about
said
that
my
too.
anything else that comes up that we could address, we definitely want to work with the community and to address
Absolutely, so
any
we'll just all stay in
concerns.
touch as questions may come from the board or the public.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
From the whole thing, right?
Jeans, I think we have.
And the dog.
Right.
Yeah.
That went away.
Yeah.
Thanks, everybody. All right, next we have department reports. Nelson, you're up, sir.
Good evening to everybody, and my wishes, happy Thanksgiving to everybody.
Same to you and yours.
Nelson.
Thank you. Haven't been here for a while, so I'm going to hit a lot of the highlights, and there's quite a bit of stuff because I've been gone, I haven't been here in a bit. I'm doing actually January through October. I'll give you the facts that I have that I think they're kind of interesting, gives you an idea about the department, what we do. January to October permit fees, the total was like $233,760.23. The total permits, and I've got them running every month, but rather than doing every month, I'll just say the total's 12,085 permits. And then what I did is I broke down a monthly report into different projects so you could see what's going on in town, and, you know, if I missed any, someone will pick up on it, but hopefully I think I got most of them. And I broke it down to ongoing commercial projects. When I say ongoing, they're still in a process, and you heard them the last time I was here. The first one I put down was Noble Energy. I will say they should be opening within the next probably couple, 3 weeks. They're paving it. We did the fire alarms and the flow test for the sprinklers and stuff the other day. They all passed. The place is really nice looking inside. When they open up, they were telling me that the ice cream stand to the right, I guess they're gonna open it, but they're gonna probably wait till spring because they figure that, you know, the business.
Winter.
Yeah, it's winter.
I like ice cream all times of the year.
When you do walk in there,
Mothers
to the left, they've got a coffee bar. Guy told me best coffee around, pastry, and then in the front, they've got like subs and stuff. They got larger racks of that. So I know a lot of people are excited about it because it's one more place to go to pick up a snack, you know, or a lunch and whatnot. So I think it's going to be good for the community. The other one is 30 Main and 20, which is the 55 and plus community where they're going to have the manufacturers' trailers. If anybody's been by there lately, you'll see that they just paved the road the other day. Looks pretty good. It's all graded. They have cover on the soil so that, you know, it won't, there's erosion control and everything. It's in there in pretty good shape for the winter. And then I listed done commercial projects. The first one was what the school did. They did a simulated rooftop with solar panels so students could practice panel operation installation. Some of you may have visited it already. The old Friendly's is open now. It's doing a really good business. So I think there's always a need or people want restaurants in Sturbridge. Sturbridge is a very, what I call a booming community. Third thing I listed is Econo Lodges was up on the hill near the Extra Mart there, and they did some ramps up there. Okay, and 220 Holland Road, They made an open golf cart building at Hemlock Ridge. 275 Main, which is the Chamberlain House down here. If you've noticed, they've done quite a bit of work on those buildings, the front porch, the siding. They've did some of the roofs over, so they're constantly putting money in maintenance and making the buildings look really good. And 559 Main, if you go in a building, they have that axe throwing now next to Deep Roots. Just you walk in a building where they used to have the old subway. It's all finished and people are using it. 40 Main Street, Edwards Gas, they finally finished the inside, the remodeling, and they've got their coolers and, the product inside the coolers and everything, and it looks really nice inside. It looked nice before outside, but now it looks good inside and outside. 2 Brookfield Road, where the old Revezzi's was, now you have the apartment buildings. They're done, people are in them. They're working out well as for housing. Okay, and then there was a couple of repeats here, but I'm just going to skip over them. They were by mistake. 178 Main, you have the AutoZone, the parts place. 709 Main, which is F&G Plastics, you got a big clean room they put in there. So they're expanding. They're not finished, but they did have some problems. If you look at the building to the left, they're putting up a big retaining wall. And they've probably got it about 2/3 done. 649 Main, you have Sullivan Tire now. They did that building all over. There's quite a bit of activity there, people buying tires and stuff. They're a pretty big company, so, it's another good fit to have a place to buy your tires. Dunkin' Donuts, actually, I put 215 Main next to the Cracker Barrel, but they actually did all 4 Dunkin' Donuts over the insides. And Dunkin's, they call them Dunkin's now instead of Dunkin' Donuts. And they just, they prettied the inside up, made them look better. 100 Charlton Road, that was the old Maurice, the Pants Man. It's now Old Navy. Quite a bit of stuff in there too, and people seem to like it. Okay, and then I've got down new commercial projects that we had that came in this year. One of them was the Mexican cuisine restaurant there, Condesa. That actually opened, I want to say last week, Wednesday or Thursday, had their soft opening. And a lot of people were really excited about that opening because there's not too much for Mexican food in Sturbridge, really. And so it's a good fit for Sturbridge. 364 McDonald's, the interiors, they renovated them. The Pilot, they put in a bunch of charging stations. 150 Charlton Road, as you're going up towards Brimfield on the right, that big metal building that's up there that they just put it up, that's going to be the new interstate towing. It's a 77,000 square foot building, and that's where they're going to house all their trucking and towing vehicles and things like that. We also got right next to Condesa, the Mexican restaurant where J.C. Penney's used to be. Well, not where they were, but over to the right a little bit. They're doing the interior fit up right now for pickleball. And again, all 3 Dunkin' Donuts were done over. The Extra Mart too, if you look at it on the right-hand side, right after the lights, the person had bought that, they did it all over. They painted it blue, white trim. It looks a lot better. They cleaned a lot of it up. It was getting kind of shabby looking now. It has improved a real lot. And then we have 198 Charlton Road. That's the big building that's in town, and they're almost full. They've only got a couple of vacancies now in that whole building. This year alone, they had a financial group that went in on the 3rd floor. They had a Fitzgerald Performing Arts on the 2nd floor, and they called it a K-2, which is a kid spot for special OCC therapy that went in those 3 spots this year alone. So they're almost filled up, and it's a real asset to the town. It's a nice building. Senior Center, we issued the permit. Anybody that went by there lately, you'll see where they've cut the trees next to the house in the back. They've done a lot of grubbing in the area, work. They started to do site work. They're doing pretty good. They ran the water lines to the house in the back, the Carrolls. They've got that all done. I went by there today. I haven't been inside, but I know they're already starting to tear the building apart inside. And they got some big dumpsters, or actually tractor trailers, I think, there that they're taking the rubbish and they're putting them in it. So they're moving right along, so that's a good thing. The public library over here, they're putting in that new HVAC system. They're remodeling the bathrooms downstairs, and they're doing some work on the stairs, minor work, covering like the tops of them and stuff, which is a good thing because they needed it. 443 Main, Securo Surgical Offices, they did renovations there, a big conference room, kitchen, and office. That's the one next to Southbridge Sheet Metal. It's that metal building. Another one, it's not a big building, but I was really happy to see it stay in town. I know Robin wanted it to stay in town for obvious reasons, the Chamber of Commerce. If anybody ever stops in there, it's really cute. They have their little displays set up. If anybody's coming off 84 or anywhere, I mean, it's somewhere they can stop and find out what we're about, Sturbridge is about, the area.
The other day, she's doing a nice job with it.
Yeah, it's very informative. And like I say, I think we tried real hard to keep them in Sturbridge because they were thinking about going to Southbridge and everything. And, you know, they ended up with that place. And we did all we could to keep them in town, which I think is a good thing because, you know, Sturbridge is really a tourist town, and it just fits really well with us. This time, too, I figured I'd mention some of the things that I do with issues. They're not big issues, but not a lot, but a good part of my job is people are constantly calling with issues or things they seem to want changed. And Robin set a system up now where Michelle takes in a lot of the problems. She makes sure she gets back to whoever it involves and resolves the problems. And I think it's been working out well. Just some of the things recently, like there was on Big Elm, there was a trailer, a person was living in it. And we ended up really getting harder on them, violation letters, and they ended up moving the trailer. And so I thought that was a good thing.
Nelson, excuse me, but that's Big Elm, not Big Elm?
Big Elm. It's Big Elm.
Where's Big Elm?
It's up near, I'm trying to think of the name of the road. It's just a little off street off of, I can't think of the name of the road, but it's up near where the apple orchard is. Where they have
Arnold Road?
Yeah, you go way up Arnold Road and you take that, what is it, Lake Road, it's off Lake Road. Take Lake Road and you don't notice it, and just as you take Lake Road, it's a small, short distance.
Yeah, that's what had me confused, never heard of it.
Yeah, you know, I bet you I was there 8 years before I realized there was a road there, and then, you know, somebody had some issue there, and then I realized what it was. But there definitely was a trailer up there, and they removed it, so that was good. 453 Main, the same thing. There was a place that's been a while where decks needed to be fixing, and they pulled a permit the other day. Again, it was through a violation letter. Again, I was informed of it through the Selectmen's office. The other thing was, and I think this was, I think Gene informed me of it, and it could have been through planning or possibly design review. And this happens, you know, I'm constantly looking at the signs, but you can't see them all. So every so often, somebody will remind me of the signs, and there was a few of them. And there was various signs, so I did a lot of site visits, and I explained to them and that they needed to come in and see planning and do the paperwork and get their signs. And then some of them also fell in with Michelle's department, because she wouldn't issue, or she wasn't gonna, not that she wasn't gonna issue, but she was gonna get involved in issuing the license for the business. And because of that helped for them coming in and getting the sign permit and correcting the runs, because if some of them were all wrong, they just never got a permit, and they were up. So those all got corrected too, so that was a good thing. And then 181 Shepherd Road, there's a lot of cars there. I think what we're gonna do, I had talked to Robin about it. It's in the works right now with KP Law. They have to December 1st. As of December 1st, I'm gonna make a formal complaint with the court in Worcester. I'm gonna go there and, whether he comes or doesn't come, I'm not sure. He's down in Florida, but, you know, he's gonna be subpoenaed. If he doesn't come, they'll put a order against him that if he gets pulled over or something, he will. So hopefully he shows up and we resolve that too. And that's been going on for a long time. Some of the places like, and this has all been resolved, 17 Plimpton, there was no permits, but that got corrected. And I also added some stuff in here that's interesting. Dorico's Market now is what they call GOL Market. I don't know, if you go over where that building is, you'll see the new sign up. It's a small Brazilian food supermarket, like a small supermarket. And they just started installing new butcher shop department for them, so they bought them out. So that will be, you know, right now it's never been occupied. So they're gonna move in there and they're gonna basically do what the other one did. I don't think they're gonna butcher quite as heavy, but it's gonna be more of deli and stuff.
When is that supposed to?
When's it coming, did you just say?
Yeah.
Yeah, hopefully, I mean, the way it looks, I'm gonna say in the next month or so, because they definitely wanna get in there.
Because the Dorico sign is still up.
Yeah, they're gonna be taking that down. Right now, they just got a temporary sign that says that GOL.
Yeah, inside
the
where it
entrance
is. Yeah, but on 131, you still
Yeah.
have the
They
other
closed
sign.
their Shrewsbury place too.
Yeah.
Doritos.
I guess what happened is, help. It's, you know, people don't realize it's really hard to get help today. And I heard they couldn't get butchers, you know, that was part of the problem. You know, it's kind of like a unique thing. You can't just get anybody off the street, I wouldn't think. You kind of got to know what you're doing, you know. So, but, and then I noted Tractor Supply, they were down one day. I don't know if anybody heard any complaints, but what happened is they had somebody, I think, hit a sprinkler head with a forklift. And then they had some water damage and stuff, so they corrected it all, and in one day they were back open. Some things I made of note, the way the new building code set up and stuff, solar panels on roofs now, they're the responsibility of both the building department and the fire department. When I say the fire department, they fall under location of where the panels go. Depending on the size and the square footage, they have to have like 3 feet on one side where they can go up to fight a fire if they have it. They can't have a conduit that goes across it. They need like 2 feet on the top. If it's large enough, they need 3 feet on the top. There's a few regs, so what they do is the fire department's looking at it now. We got a good process in place, and they give me the okay, and then I issue the permit. And then when I go to inspect it, I look for those various areas so that they meet their requirement. Another thing I wanted to say about the new building code, we are going to have some training December. It looks like December 5th. There's going to be some Zoom meeting. It's going to be under residential mandatory requirement, part 1, they call it. There's a lot of new parts, and what happens is a lot of the contractors, they you know, not only them, building commissioners too, we're all trying to get used to it, and everything's changing, so we are going to try to have some, you know, training, and this will be one of the first ones we have. And we'll see how that goes, and depending on whether we want to have it physically or a Zoom meeting. This first one will be a Zoom meeting. But I know Gene and Robin had talked about it, and I agreed they were right, and they wanted it to take place. And the contractors, I think, will enjoy it and like it, so that's a good thing. And basically, that's about what I wanted to say.
All right, any questions or comments for Nelson?
The old movie theater, any bites on?
No, it's just, it's very hard to get anybody interested in that just because of the work that would have to be done to turn it into anything else. We keep our ears open. I keep, you know, Terry keeps his ears open to see if we can draw something, but nothing yet.
All right. Good place for you, Mary. Open something.
Me?
Yeah. Okay.
That Condessa restaurant, if you go in there, it's really, it's unique, you know, they got the walls and they're very decorative. They got squirrels on the wall. When you first walk in, they got a statue, they call it Katrina. It's a statue, I guess, they celebrate their deaths, and that's what she is, a statue of death, but she's got feathers and bright colors. It's really a unique place in there, I think. People are going to.
No, I definitely want to go to dinner there. Not for that reason.
No.
Food, no offense, but.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting.
I'm very excited for that to
Yeah.
be open now.
Yeah.
Nelson, I just had a question on a couple of places. Well, for instance, on page 3, under done commercials, number 4, 30 Main and 20, 55 plus manufactured community.
Yeah. That's next to the old
That's-
gas. It's the trailers, the singles and the double wides,
Yeah.
because that is a 55 plus
Yeah,
community.
but it's not Route 20.
Okay, yeah, Main, it should be,
Just Main.
yeah,
and
yeah,
130.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, oops,
I thought I missed something driving.
yeah, I'm sorry,
Oh, no problem.
yeah. Have you gone by you see where they just paved it last week?
Yeah.
The beginning of it,
Yep.
it is looking good. But there'll be a while before, because they still gotta get way up and on the hill and
Oh,
everything,
yeah.
so they still got another section to do.
Okay, no, very good, very helpful.
All right, Nelson, thank you.
Thanks, Nelson.
Yeah, happy Thanksgiving, Nelson. God bless.
Be well.
Again, enjoy your Thanksgiving.
Chief, come on down.
Do we have a prize for you?
I don't know if the price is right, but. How are you, Chief?
Good evening, happy Thanksgiving.
Thank
To you also and yours.
Hope everybody's got their warm clothes with them.
Coming. The snow is coming.
It's coming.
Tuesday night, right?
It's coming.
Heather, Tuesday night? Heather knows the forecast.
So, oh, I'm sorry.
Out of order.
I want to talk about weather.
Sorry.
You're always wrong, so don't.
Apologize.
Go ahead, Chief, go ahead.
So you have my reports for September and October. The call volume remains steady. I think the biggest takeaway that I want to share is that the nature of the calls that we're seeing continue to get more and more complicated. And by that, I mean we're doing a lot of EMS calls that require us to travel to the city as opposed to Harrington Hospital because of the nature of the calls, which means those individuals that are treating that patient are out of service for extended periods of time. That's requiring us to call mutual aid. The problem is this is a domino effect. The other areas that we get our mutual aid from are experiencing the same type of call volumes, types of calls that have to go to the city. So it's a problem that area-wide we're all faced with, but I think it's important enough to bring it up and make you aware of it.
Is this a consequence of increased traffic, or are the calls related to just more complicated medical events?
I think it may be a little bit of both, but more so it's the nature of the calls that we're seeing. Certainly the car accidents we're seeing are requiring us to perform more and more services, but even the medical-related calls, the non-traumatic calls, are seemingly more complicated than they have been historically.
Okay.
So, I do want to bring up a couple of points regarding training. We train every day. The guys and girls in the fire department during their downtime when they're not responding to calls or maintaining equipment or writing reports are always doing some type of training, be it something tabletop or something in the drill yard or something out in the community. And that happens on a daily basis. But there are classes that the firefighters take above and beyond that training, and some of these classes are involved and take a period of time. So, for example, Lieutenant Roderick just finished a number of weeks in Fire Officer 3. There's a progression of fire officer training beginning at level 1. Basically, it's a company officer's training level or first line supervisor's training level. Fire Officer 2, somebody who's going to be in charge of multiple companies. Fire Officer 3, a shift commander, and so on, up to Chief Fire Officer. So Lieutenant Roderick just finished Fire Officer 3, and that's a pretty big accomplishment. Lieutenant Ash kind of following in his footsteps, just finished Fire Officer 2. Again, she's been a Fire Officer 1, now she's up to level 2. And those educational components give them the tools they need to, again, supervise at higher levels and deal with different issues, problems, day-to-day activities. So these are good things. Deputy Chief Martell is beginning Fire Prevention Officer 2. There's also 2 levels of that. There's actually 3: Fire Prevention Officer Basic, Fire Prevention Officer 1, Fire Prevention Officer 2. So he'll be doing that. I think that's a 2-weekend program. It's a 40-hour class, but then there's 40 hours of outside work that has to be done. In addition to those classes, we've done some in-house training. Recently, Lieutenant Moyna, who is the training coordinator, conducted a 2-day class on rapid intervention training. Because we are mutual aid for other areas, sometimes we are put in a position where we have to be the rapid intervention team. So that training is critical for our people and for the people that we're going to help. So that was a 2-day class that we had at the fire department or at the public safety complex. We did set off the fire alarm a couple of times with the smoke generator, so we know that it's working, so that's a good thing. We also hosted a trench rescue training class for the District 7 Technical Rescue Team. Thank you to Heather and her folks for helping us out on that. They dug a trench for us 2 Thursdays ago, and the Technical Rescue Team trained there all day on how to safely extricate a individual that was working in a trench that had subsequently collapsed. So that was a big thing for us. And then EMS, we do, like I said, on a regular basis. A lot of that is tabletop. We subscribe to a online training platform, and both Lieutenant Moyna and Lieutenant Becker, our EMS coordinator, work together to provide us with training modules that are appropriate for our day-to-day stuff. For example, we just did a module on asthma. How to treat asthma, how to recognize asthma. Bloodborne pathogens is another thing that we just recently completed. So training's a big thing. The other ongoing type training we do on a monthly basis is through the Fire Prevention Association of Massachusetts. Lieutenant Ash, the deputy, myself, and periodically Lieutenant Roderick will attend training classes once a month to bring us up on code compliance and anything related to fire prevention. So we're doing that on a regular basis. So training is a big component for us. I think sometimes it gets lost in the kind of the conversation when we talk about what do the firemen's days look like, firefighter day looks like, and training is a big component. Couple of safety related messages. With Thursday coming up, I just want to remind everybody about cooking safety. If you're going to fry a turkey, first of all, please do it outside. I know that may seem a little obvious, but please do it outside. And follow the manufacturer's recommendations on how to properly prepare the turkey and cook the turkey. Heating safety. We are now in the heating season. We're starting to see unfortunately, some of the area towns are experiencing house fires now that they are realizing have to do with heating systems or makeup heating systems. People are not using the appliances the way they're designed to use. They're using them for heating instead of cooking, for example. So I would just caution everybody to practice good heating safety as well. So,
great. Any questions for the chief?
I don't have any.
You're busy, Chief.
Happy Thanksgiving. Yes, we are busy, and sometimes that's a good thing.
Supposed to be busy.
All right. Well, I think that's all, sir.
Okay, thank you,
Thank
Chief.
you.
Okay. We are, Robin.
Yeah, very briefly, I was asked today, speaking of firefighters, by the firefighters to announce that December 16th is the Santa cruise.
Who's around?
So just a reminder on that. Council on Aging Director Leslie Wong indicated they will be delivering, or they are delivering, they did, 28 Thanksgiving meals donated from the Old Village Grill,
Nice.
which is very nice. Tree lighting reminder, Friday after Thanksgiving, so Friday, 6 o'clock, I believe the tree lighting is on the Commons. Joshua Hyde Public Library, I just want to thank Becky, I attended the, and Mary Dowling was there as well, the Volunteer Appreciation Night. They have 84 or 88 volunteers at that library.
How many volunteers?
Yeah, Senator Fat was there, and he made a comment that he sees some libraries that don't have 84 patrons, let alone 84 volunteers. Really great event, and thanks to Becky Plimpton for pulling it together. And it's a reflection on her leadership when you have that many people who actually want to volunteer in your organization. That doesn't happen without good leadership on her end. OSV easement, it says will meet, but I did meet on November 17th with Brandon Goodwin, Tom Chamberlain, myself. We need some easement in the parking area over across on Stallion Hill. And so OSV is looking into allowing that. They're receptive to Jim is receptive to the idea, Jim Donahue, but of course he has to take that in front of his board, so I'll know in a few weeks, but that will really help us out. Right now, people kind of have to walk through the parking lot in one portion of it where they're walking through. And it's just for safety reasons, we're asking OSV for a little bit of an easement there. Obviously, the board will have to accept that easement if it goes through, but all was positive in that meeting. 2025 budget, we are starting now to ask people to start pulling their budget together. It happens pretty quickly. Just a heads up, if the charter change happens, this process will start 2 months earlier next year, so we will have a very short cycle year if the charter change happens to move town meeting from June to April. It past town meeting, if it passes in April in the referendum, the following year, you're going to start seeing this process a little earlier, just make you aware of the cycle we're going to be on. I attended the Worcester Regional Transit Authority monthly board meeting. The board discussed, the board is going to be applying for a state grant to possibly provide some transportation services from the Econo Lodge to local markets. They are indicating to us that if they get that grant money, they do understand that it's not on Sturbridge's WRTA budget. We have a budgeted amount for WRTA. This would all come from a state grant. And I think that's pretty much it for me.
Great. Any questions?
Yes, Robin, on the budget, could we get from the Finance Department a summary of the monies unexpended the past fiscal year from all the departments?
Oh, the any turnbacks, yeah,
Yeah.
we'll get you the turnbacks.
Yeah, we've gotten that before.
Yes, we'll get that for you. Okay. That's it from me.
Perfect.
Great, thank you.
All right, we are now moving to action items. We're going to action item A, consideration and possible action, authorize the chair to execute the agreement with Sherman Frederick Land Surveying and Engineering for the Fishkill Conservation Area in the amount of $19,800 plus an allowance of $350 for reimbursable expenses. Also, the approval of contingents for additional, contingency. I'm just rendering instead of also, with the approval of contingency for additional costs related to pins.
So this came from Becky. The base price is what it is, but if we end up wanting to do some additional pins as this unfolds, we just want to have the contingency there to do so.
Okay, so it's a $350 amount for a contingent amount, or you?
No, that there's reimbursable expenses and potentially up to a few $1,000s, I think it was. Was it $4,000 or $5,000 for contingency? I think it was 5,000 for, yeah, I think it was up to $5,000 for contingency pins if we need, if conservation feels they need them.
Okay, questions from the board? Anything? Comments? Okay, do I have a motion with?
Make a motion that the chair execute the agreement with Sherman Frederick Land Surveying and Engineering for the Fisk Hill Conservation Area in the amount of $19,800 plus an allowance of $350 for reimbursable expenses. Also, the approval of contingency for additional costs related to pins.
Second.
All those in favor? The ayes have it. Moving to action item B, consideration and possible action to authorize the chair to execute the contract with Art Chaffee Construction Incorporated for the Fisk Hill Trails parking lot in the amount of $31,150 pending signed contract from contractor.
This was a low bid, lowest qualified bidder.
It was, but he's had quite a bit of time to sign and send back?
Yes, I
I just got it.
Yeah,
You signed, you got it?
yeah,
Okay, so we can
yes,
take the word pending out?
yes.
We need to, he still has to submit his payment bond.
So it's pending payment bond, but he has executed the contract? When is the payment bond expected to be received? Is everything in order, is really what I'm asking?
We reached out to him today, so I'm hoping to hear something back from him. He's not always in his office, so.
Is there anything you're concerned about? Okay, the board, do I have a motion?
Make a motion to authorize the chair to, excuse me, execute the contract with RHAP Construction, Inc. for the Fisk Hill Trails parking lot in the amount of $31,150 pending signed contract from contractor.
I think it's now pending, pending receipt of,
Payment
bond.
bond.
Payment. I'll amend that.
Perfect.
Second?
Great, all those in favor? The ayes have it. C, consideration and possible action to authorize the chair to execute the contract with New Generation Landscaping and Fence Incorporated for the Turner Field fence replacement in the amount of $33,550 pending signed contract from contractor.
We just opened this one last Thursday. We opened these, this was a week ago Thursday. This was a low qualified bidder as well.
Okay. And we do. Okay. All right, do we have, any questions or comments from the board? All right, hearing none, do we have a motion?
I make a motion to authorize the chair to execute the contract with New Generation Landscaping and Fence, Inc. for the Turner Field fence replacement amount of $33,550 pending signed contract from contractor.
That's it.
I'll second.
Yeah, that's, yeah, you're
All right, all those in favor? The ayes have it.
Next one.
Consideration of possible action to authorize the chair to execute the contract with Celtic Painting LLC for the Sturbridge wastewater treatment facility clarifier repair and painting in the amount of $254,700 pending signed contract from the contractor. It's a pretty big matzo ball, guys.
Yeah.
Are questions, comments from the board?
Well, is it just that it's expensive or
It's just expensive.
we let it go too long?
No, it's, we've been talking about doing regular scheduled painting of the clarifiers. This one is painting and some repairs because there was a baffle wall that has a weld in it that needs to be repaired, which is making it a little bit more expensive than just a painting project. But painting projects for these large clarifiers are gonna cost in addition, the cost of anything related to petroleum, which is paint is, has gone up considerable in the last couple of years. Unfortunately.
Any other questions, comments, thoughts?
Is this bid about what we were expecting, or is this?
So the bid was probably 30% higher than what we were expecting. But we did receive 3 bids, so it was competitively bid, we can't say it wasn't.
Okay, anything else from the board?
Okay, I'll make a motion to authorize the chair to execute the contract with Celtic Painting LLC for the Sturbridge wastewater treatment facility clarifier repair and painting in the amount of $254,700 pending signed contract from the contractor.
Second that.
Okay, all those in favor? Ayes have it. All right, considering, I will make a motion to accept the letter of resignation with thanks from Jane Downing from the Open Space Committee effective November 6, 2023.
Second.
All those in favor? The ayes have it. Thanks for her hard work. I'm going to make a motion to accept the letter of resignation from Trevor Presley from the Sturbridge Police Department as a full-time dispatcher, effective November 16, 2023. All those in favor? Ayes have it. Great. All right, so we're going on to action item G, which
It's considerable.
I like her approach. Do you want me to just jump in a
Yeah, go
little
ahead.
on this? So in the past, you all, at the end of December, get handed a pile of licenses to just sign. Renewals, liquor licenses, whatever it might be, all of the renewals you get to sign. So I said to Michelle at one time, so what happens if somebody's not compliant? And Michelle's like, I don't know.
You don't sign it.
And no, you have been, because it never comes, we don't know that they're necessarily non-compliant, because health might not know what fire inspections might not know. We found there were people who didn't have business certificates, there were people who haven't caught up on their taxes. So it's a huge concern to me, because if for some reason, let's say for the sake of argument, a fire inspection falls through, and I hate to use a horrible knee-jerk reaction thing, but the Station nightclub was the perfect example of things that went wrong because left hands didn't know what right hands were doing, on top of maybe nefarious things. But even if it wasn't nefarious, the fact that the left hand didn't know what the right hand was doing. So what really is happening now is we have centralized with Michelle like a database. So anybody who has a license renewal, whatever they're required to have for that, whether it's a health inspection, whether it's a business certificate, if it's a liquor license, we've asked the police department now to sign off if they have any concerns. Any liquor license now goes in front of Earl. And basically, it comes back to Michelle with a check off, that anything
It's familiar that we weren't doing this all along when we signed it.
No.
I literally just-
There has been licensing processes. A lot of it was out of inspections, but that didn't necessarily talk to health, which didn't necessarily talk to fire. So what we found were there were gaps. And it might have only been 2 out of 30 of them, but if it's the wrong 2, there's a problem.
We found a lot without business certificates.
No business certificates, operating without business certificates.
So I'll send it out to all the departments, and then, let's just say Lynn will let me know they don't have it, so she will reject the process, it will come back to me. I will then reach out to the business owner and tell them that their renewal process is held until they contact the town clerk's office, and then give them the number, and then they reach out to the town clerk, get the business certificate, and Lynn then gets back to me and saying, they're good to go.
So basically,
Same
Michelle
with
is individually going through everything that comes back, and anything that's missing, she then reaches out to the business owner, or drives to the business owner's place of business and delivers what they need to fill out on a Saturday. But this way, we are sure that they have everything they're supposed to have. But as we're doing this, instead of putting all of them in front of you on one night, and because we sort of bump against New Year's Eve, December 31st, when particularly the liquor licenses have to be renewed, this is a block that we have in now that are all clear, that you normally would just be signing. All we're asking you to do is officially vote to approve them, so that the ones that don't comply can't say, well, they don't vote to approve them, how come ours doesn't get signed? So we now have a process. These have all been checked off and approved for your signature. You can vote them as a block and say everybody who is compliant, because typically you never even voted on these anyway.
No.
And you should vote to approve a license before you sign it.
What is, I looked at this and I appreciate your effort here, because I had questions about this at the end of last year around a couple of things. Is the Sturbridge RV Resort the 1,000 Trails?
Yes.
Yes.
Aren't we have all sorts of compliance issues with them through conservation? Isn't there litigation?
No, that's Pine Haven or.
It doesn't go.
That's separate from their licensing, though.
They have for them, it's an automatic amusement license.
Right.
Wait, how can it be separate from you? If you're telling me that someone doesn't have, I'm not saying I know the answer to this question.
What they need to be compliant for the license for which they're applying.
So, but if you're actively violating our bylaws, and let's not talk about them specifically.
Yeah,
I'm not trying to speak up.
I don't know of anybody else that's in that situation. We don't have anybody else.
I understand that. I don't want to talk about their specific.
I hadn't even given that a thought.
Hold on a second, Robin.
Yeah.
So the notion is as the licensing authority, you are largely being compliant with our laws. And if we're doing it this way, we are effectively blessing and saying you're in compliance. It wasn't, not that we should have probably been doing that before, but at least there's a certain plausibility. But if we're really doing it this way, we're doing it this way.
You're right.
And if you're not in compliance with something, I mean, I don't know off the top of my head, but.
So what you're saying is I should have a conservation sign off?
That's the other thing, yeah, that's.
Well, no, I think
yes.
before we start speaking about things specifically right now, especially when they're around litigation or things are active, we should stop before we put a block of all of these things on and
Okay.
change a process. Probably should be having conversations like this in executive session if they're going to talk about how it impacts litigation.
Absolutely off my, I apologize.
No,
That one
it's
was
okay.
totally off my radar. I
But we
missed
have
it.
we had a couple of these last year. And I'm not gonna say who they are at this particular juncture, but 2 or 3 places jump off the top of my head right where we know actual things way worse than a conservation issue were going on, where they're operating a business in town. So if we're doing it this way, we're doing it this way, but if you're making us truly bless all of it, we're gonna need more than just.
No,
one
and you know what,
big block.
you're right, that one was totally off my radar. We had another similar one,
I
you
know,
are
honestly,
correct.
yeah,
and
let's stop
we-
talking about
yep,
it generally
yep.
right now, and we
Yep.
need to have a process conversation before we get something like this, because right now, I'm making these comments ad hoc, and I understand where it came from,
Yep.
but let's just
I missed that one. I have
stop.
to tell you, we missed that one.
And it's
Yep.
okay, and this is all changing, and frankly, you're trying to correct the process, and correcting the process is far more important than reacting to any calibration issues. We're always gonna have these as we improve our process. So let's stop. I say we table this for now, if anybody has an issue with that, and we get organized.
Yeah, we have plenty of time, I mean, we have.
I don't know, well, when we get the license at the end of the year,
You just sign them normally.
It seemed like we were just signing them last year, except that's when we
Because
had the
it's-
other issue.
Yeah, because
We have
it's
a couple.
always been assumed it's been through,
correct.
like the health board for food and stuff.
They do
There was
their
no
own- they do their
point
own-
of contact
they do
is what
their
you're
own
saying.
process, so they have their own packets they send out, but now,
No one person was looking at a seller and saying everything, the seller system, let's say, and saying everything has been signed off. So now in a seller, there's a sign off.
the departments are police, fire, clerk, finance, building.
We need to
Board of
review the
Health.
department
And
list,
Board of
is
Health.
basically what's coming out of this. We need
Well,
to
I
review
mean,
the
yeah, if
department list. Yep.
we have multiple licensing
Yep.
agencies, and if we're saying that we're withholding stuff up on licensing on
Yep.
one, you have to do it you can't just do it pick and
Right.
choose, you
No,
have to
I-
pass your whole board,
Jay-
or not at all.
I was thinking, I think we went through and looked at everybody, outside of the police one, which is a unique sign
Who
off
have
too.
different,
Right,
There's
there's
a lot of
but
unique- we
you're
have a lot
right,
of
and that's what I'm
unique sign-offs.
thinking, yeah.
And then, so, let's
Yep.
just, I hear, this is great, guys,
Yep.
I don't want to feel like I'm being negative at all, but let's just,
No, we want.
No, that's.
No, it's gotta be compliance right down the line, he's right.
No, absolutely, I just totally did, that one totally went out of my radar.
because
but-
that's just an example, I don't know what the hell else.
We had another, no, we did have another similar one that brought a lot of this to
Yeah.
light,
Well, I have
so.
ones that have been rejected by, let's say, Board of Health or whatever.
Yeah.
So to follow up on that,
Michelle,
that's,
maybe just CC us, like, who did,
I have a whole Excel report, so I can send it to you.
Well, let's just hold for
Oh,
now.
yeah, let's maybe have-
Let's stop, let's talk to first, let's double check with our council to make sure precisely how far our licensing authority goes. So we don't, because if we're doing anything that impacts litigation or any other people doing business, we want to have our ducks in a row before we start making any decisions or doing anything else about anything factual. Let's define the integrity of what the bounds of our decisions are, and then we will make decisions from those guardrails. Does that make sense?
That makes sense.
Everybody fine with that?
Makes sense.
we'll follow up on that.
All right, great, let's
this is
table it.
just an editing thing, but when we do get all these, I think Cedar Street Cafe should be up with Table 3 Restaurant Group doing business as. I mean, I'm
I
just saying.
strongly oppose that. I just think it's totally out of
I
line.
do them all separately, depending on how they.
Well, no, that's the only one that's different, yeah. Just stick it with it, because they're all one. Table 3.
Table 3.
I thought there was a new cafe when I first looked. I went, oh.
Mary and I know restaurants and cafes.
I know my restaurants.
It's table 3-1, table 3-2, table 3-3. They come in all separately.
It's crazy.
Okay, great. Well, moving on, we're on to action item H, which is, I'm going to make a motion to accept with thanks the donations from Don Taft, the Quabog and I can't never say it. I know, once I get it wrong, it's not gonna happen. Lake Association, 6.
Say it 3 times.
I can, it doesn't matter. If I do it now, it's just gonna get worse. Lake is, 6 $20 gift cards to Big Y, 2 $25 Visa gift cards, 2 $20 Stop and Shop gift cards, 2 turkey breasts and 6 turkeys, which is lovely.
That's so nice. Where are they going, though?
Well, that's the question.
Who is he donating them to?
They went to the
Senior
senior
center.
center.
Oh, senior.
Yeah, those are
I
Leslie's.
had just assumed.
Yeah, those are Leslie's. Sorry about that.
I'm sorry. That was.
No, it's
Those are
okay.
Leslie's.
And then, all right, so do we have a, I think I'm,
Second.
yeah, second.
Second.
Second. All those in favor? Ayes have it. All right. Consideration and possible action on the appointment of Kyle St. Marie to the position of DPW Senior Heavy Equipment Operator, effective November 21st, 2023, at the hourly rate of $32.35.
And this came as a recommendation from Heather.
Okay. Any questions, comments from the board? Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to appoint Kyle St. Marie to the position of Department of Public Works Senior Heavy Equipment Operator, effective November 21st, 2023, at the hourly rate of $32.35.
Second.
All those in favor? Thank you. Okay, we are onto the warrant.
So I'm asking for consideration tonight for you to open the warrant. I'll quickly review the articles that are on there. If the board wants to vote on recommendation of those articles tonight, and we can close the warrant, that's fine, and we're going to get these to FinCom as soon as we can. We have until, I think, early January to get these out to the public for January 22nd, but with the holidays, we're really hopeful. We spoke with Lynn, we're really hopeful to get these out if we can before the holidays, which is why I'm kind of moving on these. Nothing, I don't think, horribly controversial, so.
Okay. Do we expect to have any other?
No, at this point, I think this is it.
All right, how's the board feel?
Sounds fine.
Okay.
Fine with
Okay.
me.
Motion to open.
Yeah, do I have a
Whatever
motion to
needs
open the warrant?
I'll make a motion to open the warrant.
Second. You make a good
All
door.
those in favor? The ayes have it.
And I can run, you want me to run through these articles quickly?
Yeah, if you just want to
Yeah.
go through them quickly.
So the first is a $1,202.95 unpaid bill. And it was just an invoice from the Board of Health that had not been submitted in time. The second, the community preservation, this is the ADA accessibility for the pavilion and the trails to the beach at 60 Cedar. There had been some concern when we tried to do this before about the sidewalks and were those compliant with CPC and all of those things. Annie scaled it back a bit, and CPC voted to approve it. They were just waiting on their formal vote to find out from Barbara if it was going to be a borrowing or a transfer from their reserve fund. Barbara is suggesting a transfer from their reserve fund. I'm leaving it in here like this. If for some reason that changes, we just reopen and adjust that. But they did vote, I believe, unanimously for that. We have a $43.28 free cash transfer we need for a portion of an expenditure related to a grant, and it wasn't covered by the grant, so shame on Earl.
Take it out of his pay.
Take it out of your $43, yeah, $43 would be faster. Free cash transfer, this is just, we've used a little bit of the reserve fund this year. We had an underground fuel tank, as you all know, that was a bit compromised. That took a little bit of our reserve fund money. We just don't want to cut it too close, so out of the free cash, we'd like to transfer another $50,000 to our reserve fund. I think we were down to 10 or 13,000, and that just cuts us a little bit close. And then we have a few sewer reserve fund transfers. So this was, I apologize, the bottom cut off where I had my footer. $152,000. This is for E1 pumps. We've discussed the E1 pumps. By September, we had replaced 53. There likely will be a few more before the end of the year. The costs are increasing 5% this year. The 152 comes from a price that they were willing to lock in on for us to buy, how many? 55 more now to have, because we're really running out of them, and we can't afford not to have one if one breaks. So the 152,000, they quoted us a price. The price was good until January 23rd, which was the day after our meeting. So Heather said, can you extend that a little? And so that's that one. This is 50,000, same for the sewer reserve fund. We had a couple unexpected expenses there that dropped that sewer reserve fund a little lower than we would like it. It had 75,000, it's down to 13,000. Part of that, we had an odor control study we had to do because we had an odor issue that came up unexpectedly, some emergency pumping, some pump station control installation, and then that clarifier that you just voted on now that came in higher, got paid, the difference got paid out of that. The only way we could award the contract was if we had a funding source. Okay. So that's to sort of fill that back up. And then water, same theory, 160,000, because we have to the fund balance, the plant media. This is actually transferring to a specific line, plant media at the water plant project account. This is a filter replacement project for iron removal. And so that is a transfer from the fund balance to that specific account, not to the reserve fund. So that's it. There were going to be some easements on there, but it turned out that because the land is being given to us, it's not town meeting, I will be putting those easements in front of the board. Once conservation approves them, then they'll come to you. So we originally did this for the 2 easements, and it turns out they don't need to come in front of you. But it worked out all right, because Earl messed up $43 worth of, grant money, so. And that is it in a nutshell.
The soda problem, were there complaints from people?
Yes. This is associated with 131, the pump station is right at 131.
And Hall Road?
Yes.
Yes, I drive by there and there's a lot of
Happens a
odor.
lot.
Yeah, so we were able to work with a company that has monitors for H2S so that we actually could try to figure out where the smell is coming from, because right at that point we have multiple sewer main lines that comes down. There's one that comes down Whittemore, there's one that comes down Wallace, and then there's one that comes down Hall Road, and then there's one that comes down Route 131. So you have that's a combination point of a lot of different places. So we were trying to pinpoint where that's coming from, and we kind of have done that. It's coming down the Hall Road line, so we're actually trying to go further up the line, because there is, again, multiple pump stations that come into the Hall Road pump station. We will be probably looking at a capital project to do additional odor control at that location. We're still working on prices in this year's capital. We will be retrofitting the existing carbon scrubber, but the levels that we are receiving there are significantly high. So it's likely that there's times that scrubber is not working. They're not constant, which again, it's a pump station with multiple pump stations, and so that kind of makes it not a constant odor problem. That's why sometimes we go down there and there's not an issue at all, and other times it's But we are trying to work through it. It's not easy when it's not as easy to identify, because it's not constant actually, because you're kind of chasing it all the time, trying to figure out where it's coming from. We have kind of figured out where the bulk of the odor is coming from. Well, which direction it's coming from.
You're on the trail.
We're finding it, we're chasing it.
It's the line from Farquhar.
No, it's not. Actually, the news, it's not very, but.
All right.
Okay, just, are you done?
Yep, good.
Oh,
I'm done.
okay. No, just a little typo in the box under 52.
Yep.
The next to the last line, rebuilding pumps are due to costs. We just need the cost.
I don't know, due to costs, yes, costs, due to costs, yes. Okay.
Are we doing all the nitty-gritty now, like that stuff?
Well, technically, to close it, I think you can
Right, so-
close it with, yeah.
Article 49, I don't know what this 60 GEI1, RG2, RG3 in brackets on the ADA accessible
On the bottom, on the box?
equipment. 60 Cedar Street, and then you've got some kind of reference to something on Article 49.
See, you know what, the bottom got cut off, the box got cut off on the bottom.
Well, I think,
Yeah, I don't see what you're looking
no,
at.
She's looking at what we just got.
she's looking at.
I don't have that.
In the parking area and pavilion at the recreational
area and
facility at
pavilion,
60
Cedar.
Cedar. And then-
Including all costs incidental.
That wasn't that taken out?
But no, you have JE1, RG2.
Oh, that might be an old comment or something. I don't see what you have highlighted. I don't
That's
have.
the old one.
Is that
I think
the
you're
one?
looking at the old one.
Oh, I'm not looking at
I
the
gave you
right
correct
one?
to it. Yep, that's what it was.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Got it.
Anything else, Mary?
No.
Okay.
No, I personally don't think it'll take us 10 minutes to go through and recommend or not recommend. I mean, get it out of the way.
Oh, sure, yeah. I thought we were gonna do
You
that.
do them
I assumed
individually
we
or
were
as a
doing-
block? You can do them individually or as a block. It does, if you.
Yeah, we do it.
And we can just run through them if there's comments.
Yeah.
Let's just go to Article 48 then.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we place and support.
Second.
All those in favor? The ayes have it. moving to Article 49.
I make a motion we place and support.
Second.
All those in favor? Ayes have it. Article 50.
Make a motion we place and support.
Second.
Ayes have it. Just kidding. All right. And then Article 51.
Motion to place and support.
Second.
All those in favor? The ayes have it. Article 52.
Motion to place and support.
Second.
How do you vote? The ayes have it. Article 53.
Motion to place and support.
Second.
How do you vote? The ayes have it. Article 54.
Motion to place and support.
Second.
All those in favor? Ayes have it.
Okay, and I make a motion to close the warrant for the special town
Second.
meeting.
All those in favor? All right.
Beautiful,
moving
thank you
on.
very much. If I have something I have to tweak on it, it might be Scrivener's errors, I'll still open, and we just open it.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
do it,
Yeah.
because we
Thank
can
you.
open anytime.
Yeah, beautiful.
All right, now moving to old business. Mary Blanchard, any old business?
None.
Mary Dowling, any old business?
How's our sign coming for the,
Good, I'm just in permitting through DOT. I'm in the we're just going through the DOT permitting process. We're getting there quickly, though.
All right.
So.
Chase, any old?
No old.
Mary Lou, any old?
No.
All right, Mary Lou, any new?
No.
Chase, any new?
Actually, this is probably old, I'm sorry. We're gonna pave the parking lot next spring?
Parking lot.
On 501?
Yeah,
Yes,
Heather.
most likely because we're still going to Mass
DOT.
permits for that.
Figured.
DOT.
Yeah, okay, cool, thank you.
This one's not on us. We
Yeah.
passed the buck on that one.
Thank you.
Mary, any?
no.
No.
None. Either account, I guess. Correspondence, do we have any?
For a parking
I
lot.
don't think we had any, do we?
No.
Approval of minutes, we don't have any minutes, do we? Citizens forum, Heather, you want to say? And
Thanksgiving.
no, seeing no one, and then, we need to, brief executive session from which I do not think from which we will adjourn. Perfect. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion pursuant to Mass General Laws, Chapter 38, Section 21, Subparagraph A2, to conduct strategy sessions in preparation for negotiations with non-union personnel, or to conduct collective bargaining sessions or contract negotiations with non-union personnel.
This is funky language.
That's the what?
I've already commented on
I know,
that. 3,
and we looked at
to
it.
discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining with Teamsters Local Number 170 Firefighters Union, if an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining position of the board, and the chair so declares, and not to reconvene in open session.
Do you declare?
I so declare it.